What's good, guys? Fantasy Joe back here with some more fantasy football content. Today, I am talking RB sleepers. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. A ton of good fantasy content in the channel. Wide receivers, sleepers is already out. Wide receiver values, the whole entire value series across all the positions is on the channel currently. League winners is coming soon. Already out on the channel, we have our early round decision series. We have a number of those. Four of those or five of those already out. More to come as well. Fantasy football profiles on the channel, league winners, all that stuff. So hit that subscribe button if you want to win your fantasy football title. But let's hop right into it. So we're talking my running back sleepers today. We're going to kick this off with the 101st average drafted player, and that's Tajay Spears. I've talked about him before in some videos, but he is officially a sleeper for me. Reason being, Tony Pollard was signed to this offense in the offseason. Pollard was very inefficient in a good offense last year in Dallas. I don't think this offense in Tennessee is nearly as good, or this offensive line, or Will Levis, but I think they have an opportunity to improve from where their expectations are as ADP wise for this offense. And what I mean by that is I think Tajay Spears has already excelled in this offense. He's proved that his rookie year where he averaged 4.5 yards per attempt and over 7 yards per reception, as well as outsnapping Derrick Henry as a rookie. I think that the most talented player on this team by far is Tajay Spears, and they did give Tony Pollard some money. I'm not saying they're not going to both get the ball at the beginning of the year, but I think Tajay Spears by week 4 is going to be clearly established that he is the best running back on this team. He's going to start to get more and more of the work and is going to be able to emerge and be a really good value for your fantasy football team. I see this guy easily being a guy you can draft in the double-digit rounds, then stick in there as your RB2 come, like I said, week 4, or maybe even potentially before that. These ambiguous running back situations leave a lot of opportunity, and like I said, I think he is a talented football player. We've seen him succeed in this offense. Pollard last year was not the same player that he was. A lot of times with running back, once you're over that hill, it's over. And like the situation around him, like I said, is just getting worse for Pollard. Tajay Spears is saying the same situation heading into year 2. I believe he's going to be featured early, and he's got an issue in his knee that is degenerative. And so basically, it will get worse over time. So teams knew when they were drafting him, basically, you have to be plans of using this player early in his career. The Titans did it last year, like I said, outsnapping Derrick Henry. I think when you can do that as a rookie, it shows that coaching staffs can trust you and that you are going to get the ball. And I think he is going to be a great sleeper for this next fantasy football season. Moving on to our next sleeper, we have Jerome Ford. I really like Ford in drafts right now. This is a guy you get really late, and I'll talk about why. So last year, obviously, Nick Chubb went down with injury. Jerome Ford filled in for him and did an admirable job, especially for fantasy football. He was the RB17 last year, and the injury front for Chubb is not over yet. He's still recovering from that knee injury. It was a really tough one. He's an older running back as it is. And now, like I said, you add in returning from that injury. Will he be not only on the field at the beginning of the season, will he be himself at the beginning of the season? And Cleveland, for a long time, has used a two-back system where they've used Chubb and Kareem Hunt, and they've both been able to be successful for fantasy football. So that's why I'm so confident in drafting Jerome Ford where he's currently going. I think the running game in Cleveland currently is extremely underrated. It's extremely valuable to have that running back in that scheme to me. They run the ball really effectively. They got a good offensive line. It's a major part of their scheme. We've seen Deshaun Watson struggle. I don't see any situation or reason for Cleveland to go away from wanting to run the ball schematically. It's a top-down thing with their coaching staff. But yeah, I am just really excited for what can come this year for Jerome Ford because I feel like he is going to be used in some role regardless, and I think it could be the lead role for longer than people think, and potentially the entire season if Nick Chubb returns and just isn't the same player that he was. Obviously, Nick Chubb was extremely talented, one of the best running backs in football before he went down, so it's not outside the realm of possibility for him to return, but I do think it's going to take a little longer than people expect, especially to get back to full form. And I think Jerome Ford could still be valuable if when Nick Chubb returns to form in that running back 2 role that we see succeed for fantasy football in Cleveland before, and you're getting this massive draft discount for him. If you're doing like uh, a RB0 strategy, I would love to draft a Jerome Ford later in the draft, be able to plug him in as my RB2 or something like that for the first 5 weeks of the season while he's at lead back in Cleveland, and be able to stack some wins while I wait for some of my other running back guys to hit. One more note I'll say about Tajay Spears before we go off of him too is 52 receptions as a rookie is a really, really good number. And if he gets anywhere close to that this year, it's like he has 60 receptions and 200 carries. He's going to be extremely successful for fantasy football. I think he could easily get to that 200 carry mark this year. But just had to throw that out there. But moving on to our next sleeper. We've got a good one next. I really like this guy. Another guy who's basically really been left for dead at this point in drafts. It's Rico Dowdle. So Rico Dowdle is a good running back. I think that's the thing I want to cover first. He's not, the best in the league or anything like that, but he had a good, really good elusiveness numbers last year. He's in the top 20 for elusiveness and the top 20 for yards after contact as well in all the NFL. I think when you combine both those skill sets, it really proves how much you can be for fantasy. And he is 26-year-old back, but he hasn't had the workload a lot of these other backs have had, so I don't expect him to be worse for the wear or anything like that. And you're not drafting Rico Dowdle on a dynasty league. You're drafting him for one season, and I expect him to be the lead back for the Dallas Cowboys this season. I think he's a better running back at this point in his career than Ezekiel Elliott. I do think Zeke is going to have a role, maybe even the goal line role, which obviously would be annoying, but if I had to bet on one guy becoming the lead back for this team, it is Rico Dowdle. You get him at a much cheaper draft cost as well. I just think he is a talented running back. I think the Dallas Cowboys trust him more than people realize. I think that they would have gone out and made more acquisitions at the running back position if Rico Dowdle wasn't as good as they believe he is, and as good as he's looked in camp. All the reports from camp are that Rico is the lead back. And yeah, you get him at a massive draft discount for a team with a good offensive line, a great offense, good quarterback. They check so many boxes across the board. They're gonna score a ton of points. There's gonna be a ton of touchdown opportunity this year. So that's why I like Rico Dowdle as a sleeper. Moving on, we've got our next guy. He's a little bit farther down here. Like I said, Marshawn Lloyd going at 153 overall. But let's look at some of his stats. So last year in college, 7.1 yards per carry. That's a fantastic number. And you added in, wasn't the most utilized in the passing game, but 17.8 yards per reception his last year at USC, 13.3 for his entire career. Those are great numbers in the passing game. He's 5'9", over close to 220, 215 pounds he's listed at on here. But I believe Marshawn Lloyd is a really good player. When you watch his college tape, he makes people miss. He can catch the ball. He can run the ball. He can just do about everything you want a running back to do. I think he is a really good player. And obviously, the Green Bay Packers with Matt LaFleur have never had a back be over 240 carries in a single season. Maybe it's 246. It might even be 233, but regardless, it's not a very high number. They've always used a two-back system, and Marshawn Lloyd does a hamstring injury right now, so that's something to monitor. It could hurt him a little bit, but I still think Marshawn Lloyd is going to be the lead back on this team, even if you have to wait a week, or not the lead back, excuse me. I think he could win the lead back job by the end of the year if Josh Jacobs isn't the player we saw him be 2 years ago. Last year averaged 3.5 yards per carry. It's pretty abysmal, but I think he's going to be the number 2 running back on this team. I think that's going to have a value immediately. And if anything happens to Josh Jacobs, I think he has league-winning upside in this Packers offense that should be good. I know Marshawn Lloyd is good. You do have to monitor that health situation a little bit as we head more into these draft seasons. People are definitely drafting right now as well. But even if I was drafting right now, I'd still take the risk on a Marshawn Lloyd. If he misses one week of the regular season, oh well. He will still be... his talent is going to break out. I really don't doubt that. The only thing I think that can really hinder him is injuries, but that could happen to any player. And the draft cost is extremely low. Okay, want to mention as well, I have 2 honorable mentions I wanted to throw out there before I wrap up the video. Chase Brown. Now, Chase Brown, obviously, uh, is in an ambiguous running back situation. But I think that's exactly why you should be willing to go in on it. And I think he is a value because of how good that offense is. We saw him be really good in the passing game last year, averaging 11.1 yards per reception. That number is fantastic. If he gets more opportunity this year, he could really be something for fantasy football. I just think he looked electric on the field, honestly. It was just like watching him, he just stood out to me. It was like, whoa, when that guy's got the ball in his hands, he makes people miss. I'm willing to bet on that when you can get that in the 10th round, something like that, to take that shot and go for it. And then another guy, running back on the Chargers, rookie Kamani Vidal. Gus Edwards, I think, is a value in drafts, honestly, but I just think there's a chance Vidal takes a job as rookie running back out of Troy for last year. But watching his tape, he is a good runner. Reports out of camp is that he's doing solid. I think he could potentially be one of those surprise guys, like a Kyron Williams potentially type guy from 2 years ago. Maybe not the Kyron level workload of 20 touches a game playing all the snaps, but he could be a guy, no doubt, who's getting 18 touches by week 7 or something like that because he is just too good to keep off the field, better than Gus Edwards. And this is a team that will look to run the ball a lot, and it's not going to cost you anything. You can give them the very last round of your drafts. So those are my running back sleepers. If you guys have made it to this point in the video, please hit that subscribe button. Stick around for all of the videos. League Winners, like I said, is coming out so soon. You're going to stick around for that and get all the content in season to beat your friends and family in fantasy football. If you have any questions or comments, drop them in the comment section down below. I'll respond as always. This has been Fantasy Joe. Thank you guys for watching.